Hey, how's it going? This is Dylan. Today we're going to talk about acoustic guitar setup on Dylan Talks Tone. Hey, before we get started, do me a favor. Right down here, I think, in the bottom somewhere, there should be a subscribe button. Do me a favor and subscribe to Dylan Talks Tone. We have like over 200 videos all about setting up your guitar and various guitar tech stuff. Definitely check it out, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I really appreciate that. And let us know what you think. So, we're going to talk about acoustic guitar setup. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, just a little bit, but let's get more specific about kind of the differences between setting up an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar. The fundamentals are basically the same. You can watch some of our other videos about guitar setup on this channel. We have kind of a how-to from beginning to end, all through the steps, and we use an electric guitar for most of that. The main difference when you're talking about acoustic versus electric, the main difference is how you adjust the saddle. When you're adjusting your string action, remember that the fretboard, the neck relief, is not how you raise and lower your action. But the saddle height right here is how you adjust the height of the strings off of the neck of the guitar. Instead of using screws and Allen keys, obviously, we use a file. We actually have to take this saddle out and we have to file it down to get it to the right level, and it takes measuring a couple of times and cutting once, because if you go too far then you have to replace the saddle, so it's a little bit more work. The other thing that happens as a result of that is because of the way geometry works, it can, depending on how much you have to move it, it can change your intonation. So then you have to worry about compensation on the saddle, like filing a couple of little angles in there to make up for that, to get your intonation correct. Now, most of the better engineered guitars, this Breedlove is a good example of that, is made to work at a particular string height, so like 5/64ths or something, I think, on the low E. And when you file this saddle down to be at the correct setup, the intonation is on because it has a compensated saddle and it's kind of already been pre-figured out. But if you have an older guitar that doesn't have a compensated saddle, if you have something that is not engineered quite like this, then you might have to take it to a tech and have them go through the trouble of setting the saddle height and then compensating the nut or the saddle so that your intonation is right. Before you do any of that stuff though, there's another major factor to acoustic guitar setup that a lot of people forget about, and it sounds weird, but it's the environment in your house or your shop or your studio, wherever you keep your guitars. You see, humidity affects wood, okay? And an electric guitar, it still affects it, but not near as much as it does with an acoustic, okay? Because this is very thin wood and the way it's constructed and everything, it's basically a constantly expanding and contracting piece of wood. So, the more humidity that goes into the cells of the wood, they expand. What can happen, we'll turn the guitar so I can just kind of give you a visual of this. I know you won't be able to see it. Obviously this guitar doesn't have that problem. If humidity were to raise, then the wood would actually expand and the top would actually bow towards me this way. And what that means is then your string height would also raise. So if your action is really high on your guitar, don't touch anything yet. What I would do is check to see the humidity and temperature in your house. So at 75 degrees, you like to keep it about 40 to 50% humidity and your guitar will be happy. That means you don't have to worry about leaving it in the case or putting it away or leaving it out. It'll stay pretty consistent if you're between 40 and 50% humidity. What I would recommend is getting one of these things. We'll put a link to one in the description of this video. That's a real reasonable priced one, so that you can keep track of the humidity in your house or your shop or your studio. Now, the opposite thing can happen. If the wood dries out, then it will shrink, and then it could possibly go this way. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I thought an acoustic guitar, as it got older, it was gonna dry out, and it was gonna be better, and there was gonna be more tone. No. What does happen to an acoustic guitar as it ages is the saps and all the stuff in the wood they caramelize, they change, and that can change the sound of the guitar. but that's a natural aging process. That is not a thing that you want to hurry trying to dry the guitar out. If you just dry the guitar out, you'll just crack it. You'll have all kinds of problems. And a dried out guitar, a lot of times if it's overdone, you won't come back from that and you'll actually do damage to the thing. It'll split, there will be all kinds of problems. Keep the humidity between 40 to 50%. Get that consistent first and see how your guitar plays. And once you got it this far, then start worrying about the other aspects of the setup. You can go to our other videos. We'll put some links up here to a playlist that I have that will show you kind of the fundamentals of setting up a guitar. Again, my name is Dylan. This is Dylan Talks Tone. Hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas of things that you can look for to make sure that your setup on your acoustic guitar stays consistent and plays really well.